You still suck at wall breaking. And it's my fault. I'm sorry. I spent a month working on my original wall break video, and I forgot gem grab and hideout and Goldarm Gulch too. I don't know how that happens, but here they are. If you haven't watched my first wall break video, I would suggest watching that first. I'll put the key for the graphics on screen. Brawlytics literally put my guide on their website, which is freaking awesome. I'll chapter this video so you can skip to whatever map you want, but we will be going over Double Swoosh, Hard Rock Mine, Last Stop, Hideout, and Goldarm Gulch. All right, first up, we have Last Stop. Last Stop has a few things going on, but most of it is bush breaks. So first, let's start off on our side. This wall you always want to keep. This bush you always want to keep. These are both very important. This wall you usually want to keep. The reason that you can break it, I would break the whole thing. I wouldn't leave this segment. That was an accident. Is so that you can play this lane easier, because if this wall is intact and you've got some like assassin or something pressuring you on this side and they're using this wall for cover to play offense, then you can break it and it allows you to defend. But it also protects this area right here, which is like your gem carrier's best friend. This is also where you might put an 8-bit turret or a penny turret behind this wall. This bush right here you can break if there's somebody in there torturing you, but what you want to break is you want to break this. The reason you break back here is because you can use this bush. This bush is pretty close to your side. If you break this, they can no longer sneak into your bush, and it turns their lane, which is a very strong advantage to them, into a lot less of an advantage because they can't just run all the way uncontested onto your side. This is really good against those like sneaky assassins that are killing your gem carrier over and over again. Likewise, over on this side, this area right here is very nice to have. You do not want to break this. You want to keep it intact because it's going to allow you to play offense. Now, this is going to seem a little bit contradictory, but you do not want to break this area most of the time. This is still generally beneficial to you. It still gives you a nice area to play in, despite the fact that this side is also beneficial to you. So why is it that your side and their side of this are both useful? The only reason you'd ever break this is if they break your connecting part, and then all of a sudden they're taking advantage of this, they're beating you with it, then you might want to break it. But until that happens, you never have a reason to break it. Back at the start of this lane, we have a sort of low priority break that you can do if you want to, which is to just break this, and it makes the lane easier to play because you can just walk into it. You don't have to take the jump pad. It can be convenient. It's not always worth the wall break though. So once we get up to this side, this is their gem carrier's haven, and the most important thing you want to break is the grass. Once you break the grass, they're naked. There's nothing they can. Brock is once again pretty terrible for the grass. But once this is broken, they're screwed. I mean, you ideally want to break this too. They've got nowhere to hide. It makes it a lot easier to kill the gem carrier, and it makes it a lot harder for them to collect gems. You can also break this, exposing them. This is sort of a thrower sharpshooter dependent thing, right? So if they have a sharpshooter, you probably don't want to break that because it's blocking them from fighting this lane. But if they're playing a thrower, you do want to break it and expose them. Break this if you outrange their gem carrier, because then they're just completely exposed. This back one, sometimes there's turrets behind this, so you can break it. It also allows you to pressure their spawn at the end of the game when they're trying to survive with the gems. You would only ever break this at the end of the game if you're trying to kill a gem carrier. Here we have Hard Rock Mine. All right, first things first, let's go over our side. These two walls you never want to break. They're too close to your spawn for them to really spawn trap you effectively. And so all they really end up doing is providing cover in a spawn trap. So if they're sitting in this bush attacking your spawn, this prevents them from shooting in on you, and it gives you the space to actually push up and try and do something about it. This wall is a wall that you only break if you're being spawn trapped. It can be used very effectively to torture you. And same with this wall right here, but I also want to say this wall is generally very beneficial. This grass in this wall is very nice for playing this from range. It just gives you a lot of cover. They don't know where you're going to shoot from. It does not impede your mobility. However, if some enemy is stuck up in this grass and they're using this for cover, then you do want to break it because they are going to be torturing you. The break that is probably better is this right here. This just opens it up so you can see who's running through here. And this is a little bit of a double-edged sword because now you can't use it anymore. But if they're the ones who are using it, which happens very often, then it's absolutely worth breaking. Sort of the inverse over here, right? So you are going to take advantage of this grass area a lot of the time, but sometimes they just have a ranged brawler who's cooking you from here. And if you break that, then you know where they are, and it just makes it a lot easier to win your lane. This wall, this is a cover wall for you. It's nice to have. You can break it if someone's taking advantage of it on their team, like a thrower for some reason, but it's not one that I would usually break. This map right here is the inverse. It's a cover wall for them. Not super consequential, but you should definitely break it if they're taking advantage of it. All of this grass right here is super important for you. You love this grass. And these walls are nice to have because you can do things like put turrets behind them. They also just provide cover when you're fighting over mid. However, they are also very common spawn trap walls. And if you are getting spawn trapped, then you can break them to give you the space you need to fight the enemy. This wall right here, this wall sort of impedes your lane and also provides cover to their team when they come into this bush. So some guy's attacking you in this bush. I want it to break the whole thing, but some guy's attacking you in this bush. He's going to be a lot less useful now than he was before when that wall was there, and he could put so much pressure on you with that cover. This wall right here is the inverse, so you generally won't break this wall. Maybe sometimes they're taking advantage of it, but you are going to be using this wall to provide pressure when you get up into this bush, which is pretty easy to do. It's a pretty pretty common. So this wall is generally there to protect the team playing offense with it. These walls, this wall and like this little thing, you're not going to break these. You don't have a reason to break them. But this grass around here, this grass is incredibly valuable to break. It just leaves them completely exposed to break any amount of that grass. Like if we just break this in the middle right here, all of a sudden the lane is cut in half. We know exactly where they are. All the secrecy is gone. They're not going to shoot at us from any unexpected angles. They're not pulling any tricks on us. They're just naked and out in the open, and they have to dodge every shot now. So absolutely vital to break as much of this grass as you can. This wall is going to help you in a spawn trap situation, and it's kind of irrelevant otherwise. This wall is also going to help you play offense. It's going to give you cover. Similar to this grass right here, it's going to help the enemy team play the lane, so you can break it if they're using it effectively. Just some final notes. You wouldn't break this or this or this. It's just not worth it. If you're spawn trapping them so hard that this wall is coming into play, then you've already won anyways. Here we have double swoosh. And double swoosh is all about the grass. There's two lanes on double swoosh. There's the easy lane where you've got all this grass and it gets you all the way up onto their side, and the hard lane where you've got this little thing and your job is to fight the guy in here. This wall right here, never a reason to break it. It helps you when you have the countdown at the end. This grass right here, all of this is super important to your gem carrier. You never want to break it. This wall, not the most important, but it's still very nice to have. You don't want to break that. It provides cover to turrets. Not something that's ever going to be worth breaking. This grass right here is all helpful to you until it isn't. It's not that uncommon for an enemy to get in here, especially something like a Rosa. And once the enemies are in here, you are in very big trouble as a gem carrier. If you want to break this up here, maybe split it in half even, just so you know where they are. Any of this grass is worth breaking if you have to get somebody out of it. That being said, the rest of the time, that grass is beneficial to you. So in a similar vein, you want to break this grass unless you are in it and taking advantage of it. So if you're playing this lane, especially if you're like an Amber, which is a very common pick for this lane. Amber is fantastic in this lane because she lights all of this on fire and they can't use it anymore. So unless you're in this, you do want to break this grass. And you absolutely, every time, without a doubt, no question, want to break all of... Wow, that was a really sad break. You want to break all of this. All this that their gem carrier is using, you want to destroy it. It's super helpful to break. They're completely SOL if you break that. This, not like insanely important to break, but you can break that if they're using it pretty well. I'd say there's more important things on this map. This might look a little bit confusing, but this wall, your team doesn't use this wall. Your team is getting nothing really of value from this wall. It's not really protecting you from anything. So what is the purpose of this wall? Well, if you go and look at the opposite side with me, it's actually cover for your team on the offense. So this wall helps the offensive team. So you can break this if someone on their team is using it. But on this side, you would only break it if you need to like incidentally break it to break all this grass, because this grass is a lot more significant. But otherwise, you do want to leave that up. All right, next up, we got Goldarm Gulch. All of these are usually kind of helpful. You're sort of getting folded if you're down here and you're actually in a fight, but you can break this and break out and try to make a play happen. So the important thing to know is that this map is basically played diagonally. So this is our side and that is their side. So the most important thing to break every time is that right there. Breaking that bush that's like their home base, and your home base is here, and also this side up here is also usually beneficial to you because you control the side, but they can enter over here, which is why sometimes you can break the top half of it, which is why the top half is a purple circle. They will get established up there sometimes, so you can break the top half. I think splitting it in half is also just a nice thing to do because you can't push in. These walls right here are all helpful for you. You might break them if you range diff them. If they're hanging out behind any of these, you can break them. These walls right here are worth breaking if they're using them, especially if you range diff them. So if you're a thrower, you might actually want to leave these intact, especially if you're a sprout, because these choke points can be kind of nice for you, but you can definitely break them. Now we go over to this side, and this is something that you can break, this bush down here, but it's not as important of a break because you enter down here, so sometimes it's helpful for you. This top bush right up here is almost always worth breaking. The only reason when it wouldn't be worth breaking is if you're trying to get counterplay by pushing up this lane. Very common for a team to lose a round and then try to just push up this lane and make something happen, catch the enemy team off guard. This break if you need to in the fight. It's not very important. But yeah, that's pretty much Goldarm Gulch.
All right, last we got Hideout. The breaks here are pretty simple, but they're really useful too.
You won't break these walls. These walls protect your spawn. They're very nice to have. This wall you don't want to break. This area right here is just fantastic for you. This wall, this grass. This is basically your home base. Grass right here can be sort of nice if you're a sharpshooter who's playing this long lane right here. It can help a little bit. This is the most important break on the entire map. You want to do that a lot of the time, especially if you're a sharpshooter playing this right lane, which usually you will have a sharpshooter on this right lane. Throwers love to go up into this pocket and just torch you. Throwers, assassins, anyone. The rest of this wall, not worth breaking. It can actually benefit you in a lot of cases. Up here, this is your side. I mean, this is just going to allow you to put pressure on them. You, of course, obviously do not want to break this. If they break the bottom and then all of a sudden it sort of becomes a different wall, maybe break the rest of it if they're using it, but not nearly as important as this break right here, which you're going to want to do pretty much every game. Just all of it, the wall, the grass. Destroy their home base. It's just going to reduce a lot of their play. These walls you break if you're trying to kill them in their spawn. A lot of times at the end of bounty games, obviously players will fall back and play defensively in their own spawn. That's when you would break these, trying to get that last second desperate kill while you're losing. This, not very important. Break it if they're using it, and you've got a break to waste. Hope that was helpful. Sorry it wasn't in the original video. Thank you to all my new subscribers from the last video. Pretty cool. Welcome to the channel. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you want to see me make. I'm always open to suggestions.